Thank you very much for joining me for Amazon Sellers Breaking News on today, Monday, September 9th, 2019. And today's breaking news has to do with intellectual property right complaints against sellers, specifically copyright issues, fair pricing policy suspensions. Is this Amazon's backdoor against or around antitrust issues? Seller code of conduct suspensions and the new terms of service. It's actually called the Business Solutions Agreement, but the new terms of service, and are sellers really going to get 30 days notice before they get suspended? Okay, first breaking news story, the fair pricing policy and suspensions. Over the last week or week and a half, we saw dozens of suspensions, but mostly for sellers that were outside the United States, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, and in other countries where they really were not large sellers. Then towards the end of last week, we started getting more chats and more phone calls and more emails from sellers located in the United States who were getting their accounts suspended, major sellers and smaller sellers getting suspended for an accusation about their pricing. So far, the cases that we have handled are not people who are price gouging, and we think this is Amazon making an end run against their promise about 2 months ago where they were not going to require sellers to have the lowest price on Amazon. So they did that, we believe, to avoid antitrust litigation, but Amazon seems to be doing an end run around that and suspending a growing number of sellers in the United States for pricing issues. If you receive one of these notices, if your account goes down or a listing goes down for fair pricing policy issues, please get in touch with us immediately. We need to know the information so we can help sellers all over the world. Plus, we have been able to get these accounts reinstated. Second news story, seller code of conduct suspensions. Seller code of conduct suspensions. Sometimes these are coupled with price issues, sometimes they're not. When the seller code of conduct suspensions are coupled with a pricing issue or an IP issue or something else, they're relatively simple suspensions to deal with. When they just come in standalone, then you have to really do a better deep dive investigation as to what caused the suspension. And sometimes we need to send in a rather generic plan of action so we can trigger from Amazon an identification of what the source is or what the source of the suspension is. But this is an ongoing and growing issue. Seller code of conduct account suspensions. It's a growing problem for sellers on Amazon. IP complaints continue to grow, and this is kind of normal this time of year as you're getting into Q4. More and more brands, and brands large and small, are protecting their turf. The latest issue we're seeing is a growth in the number of copyright complaints. Now, copyright complaints, when it comes to sellers, almost always have to do with images and verbiage. You cannot use pictures that are owned by another company, and you cannot copy and paste their verbiage from their website and create an Amazon listing. Now, if you simply jumped on a listing that was created by somebody else, in most states in the country, you're not violating anybody's intellectual property rights, but you're still going to have that same rigmarole from someone making a complaint against your account, because as far as we are aware, the people at Amazon that read these complaints have the minimal training, practically zero training when it comes to intellectual property issues. Also, if you are accused of violating another person's or company's copyright, you have the tool available to you under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act counter notice. This is something that Amazon sellers can use very, very effectively. It tells that company that they have a choice to make. You can file that lawsuit and actually sue us in a federal court, or your complaint disappears. This is a part of the law, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. When it pertains to Amazon sellers, that is really, really good for sellers. If the complaint is absolutely baseless, this is a fantastic tool, and you should not fear sparking litigation. Most small brands will not start that lawsuit, and you can usually identify the larger brands that will. Okay, last breaking news story today, the new terms of service. The new terms of service, we have shot now about a dozen different videos where we are picking apart the new terms of service. The videos are posted on YouTube, and under that new contract, which is called the Business Solutions Agreement, there are a lot of great things that we can pick and choose from the new terms of service to argue in behalf of sellers. There's also a lot of language in it that's really bad for sellers. Now, Amazon had promised to give sellers 30 days notice before suspensions, but Amazon has reserved 3 huge loopholes where they will not give you 30 days notice. A material breach of the agreement, deceptive or fraudulent activity, or that your sale somehow puts Amazon or consumers at risk. These are huge loopholes, and each of these loopholes are addressed on our videos on YouTube. So please go to YouTube, check out our channel, Rosenbaum Familaro, and watch the videos on the new TOS. Amazon has a new TOS, new terms of service against sellers, and you need to know what the new terms are if you're writing your own plan of action. And if you've hired anybody to write a plan of action for you, and they either don't know that new contract or they don't have the legal education to interpret things like material breach, immaterial breach, deceptive or fraudulent. If they can't define what fraudulent behavior is, there is no way they can write an effective plan of action. So please go to YouTube, Rosenbaum Familaro, the law firm behind AmazonSellersLawyer.com, and learn all of the details of what the new terms of service is. When you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel so that you always get the updates that we provide to sellers all over the world. And join me again tomorrow for another episode of Amazon Sellers Breaking News.
About a case I worked on regarding a trademark complaint a client received. This client is very smart.